You're now listening to the legendary Vinyl Esquire.
The podcast that uplifts the DJ culture and honors our legends. Vinyl Esquire with DJ
Vinyl
Rip.
Esquire.
Thunderstorm in the forecast. More time to meditate
We got
on your
Scram
warpath.
Vinyl Esquire.
I'm packing up my shit, smush shit in the cars I can fit. And I'm driving as far as I can get.
Vinyl Esquire, culture, truth, music.
And we got Scram Jones. Make some noise, one more time.
Vinyl Esquire.
Hey yo, Benjamin Banneker, Africa Bear Bottom, boom bap bipping your medulla
And we
oblongata.
got Scram Jones.
Heard I was killing, they must got word that I told the chief from Rich Paul I don't wanna merge.
Scram Jones, nigga.
One lonely Scram Jones I be.
Vinyl Esquire.
Hey yo, first things first, Scram Jones, I freaks the track ugly.
Are you ready?
Vinyl Esquire.
Fuck saving hip hop, we bringing the streets back.
Playing spit, snipping, different color wallies on blipping. Had to take them off, they fucked up the
Vinyl
soul flipping.
Esquire.
Scram.
Hello world, I want to welcome you to Vinyl Esquire, the podcast that delivers culture, truth, music. Would you join me, please, in welcoming DJ Rip?
Hello world, I want to welcome you to Vinyl Esquire, and my name is DJ Rip, and Vinyl Esquire is the DJ podcast that uplifts the DJ culture and honors our legends. And without further ado, I would like to introduce the incredible MC, the legendary DJ, the legendary producer. I would like to welcome the multi-platinum producer, MC, and DJ, Scram Jones, to Vinyl Esquire.
What up, what up, what up? Thanks for having me.
Scram, how you doing, man?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, man. Everything's good.
Absolutely, man. You know, I want to thank you for allowing me to interview you on Vinyl Esquire, the DJ podcast. We uplift the DJ culture and honor our legends here. You're definitely a legendary DJ and all the above. Well, Scram, let's get right to it, man. I want to go ahead and peel back the layers, and I want to talk about the catalog, the discography, and, you know, all your accomplishments. So let's get right to it. I want to take it all the way back to the beginning. So, Scram, can you tell me who or what made you want to be a DJ?
Well, growing up young, the first images of DJs I saw probably was, you know, a Jam Master Jay or someone like that, but probably I would say growing up 914 over here in New Rochelle, Mount Vernon, I would say Pete Rock, and I would say DJ Premier, both of them who, you know, DJ'd and produced. They definitely influenced me a lot. And then of course, all the mixtape DJs, I always wanted the exclusives, and I heard that the DJs get them first since I used to collect mixtapes. So I said, I'll just be a DJ and get access to the exclusives, not knowing that what'll happen after that, you know?
Absolutely. So what year would you say you started DJing, and what was your first DJ name?
So my first set of turntables I got at the very end of around Christmas time, 92. So early 93, I'll just say, is when I started. It was just before Juice came out. I remember Juice came out right after I got the turntables and even put an extra battery in my back. So I was 15 years old. 10th grade, and so my nickname was Scram, was always Scram through high school, middle school, so it was just DJ Scram. Later on when I did production, people used to, you know, do extensions of my nicknames. They say, hey, Scram Boogie, hey, Scram Jones. So for production, I didn't want it to be produced by DJ Scram, so I just did an alter ego, Scram Jones, and that actually wound up sticking and basically got rid of DJ Scram.
So where does Scram come from? Why did they call you Scram to begin with?
Scram as well. My first name is Mark, and my last name starts with an S. And even going back to elementary school, even there was other Marks in my class, so I would always have to write Mark S on the top of my paper all through school. And if you look at Mark S backwards, it's Scram, and I used to write that backwards on my. I don't know if I was dyslexic or what. I was just bored, but I used to write Scram all over my papers, and then it became like a tag. I'd write it in the bathroom, in the hallways. It basically became my tag, and then my nickname, and then my DJ name, producer name.
Wow. Okay. So would you say that you started in 92? right? Around 1992?
Yeah, I'll say beginning 93, just to be like, because 92 is like probably December. And I think my first set of turntables didn't even work. Like, they were the cheapest Geminis. They, you touch them and it's, didn't have the motor. So I'll just say, beginning of 93, basically. Yep.
93 is when DJ Scram Jones started DJing, right? And you took on the moniker of Scram Jones, right? Okay. Okay. So talk to me about the early years for, your DJing. Talk to me about the early years as a DJ, getting into mixtapes and then, graduating into radio. And I understand you had a radio show called The Chop Shop. Talk to me about your early years as a DJ.
Okay. Well, I started DJing in high school. I originally got my turntables specifically to get exclusives because I was so into mixtapes. But obviously when I got them, I became a fanatic and lived at the record store and lived in my mother's basement practicing scratches. I thought I was going to be in a DJ battle later, like a DMC battle, but I was definitely battling guys in high school. I battled, there was a lot of hip hop in New Rochelle, so I was battling just high school people. I was talking shit. We had a lot of battles. And then when I went to college, I also had mixtapes out too, during that high school time. When I went to college, Ithaca, upstate, I did a radio show on 92.3 WICB. So it was a college station, but it actually was on the FM dial. So, Elmira, Jail, Albany, like all upstate would hear it. And we had an underground show called The Chop Shop from 1 to 3:30 every Saturday night, where I'd play all the underground hip hop. I'd go to rock and soul. I'd go back and forth from New York City and bring all the new music up to upstate New York. And I also had some battles up there too. But and then after that, coming back here, DJing for certain rappers. I DJ for Cool G Rap. I DJ for Saigon, for Nori, Reakwon, a lot of people. And then, when I did the Eminem stuff, I got the radio show on Shade 45 and every Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m. I know I just told you a lot.
Well,
20 years.
Right, that's okay. That's okay. You jump forward, but we're gonna pull you back, and then we're gonna get to all of that. Okay, so you go to college, and now you're on the college radio station, and you do your own show called The Chop Shop. All right, so we're talking about the early years for Scram Jones as a DJ. So you're collecting records, you're building this up, you're DJing, you have a radio show, and then you're getting into mixtapes, right? So talk to me about you getting into mixtapes, and because I understand you were nominated for a few awards at the Justo Mixtape Awards, right? So talk to me about that process, getting into, the mixtapes and, and just kind of creating a name for yourself as, as Scram Jones, as a DJ.
Right. Well, I mean, my early tapes, like my high school tapes before I even hit the real circuit, I would always try to be creative with, scratching intros and, doing lots of blends. So that actually introduced me to having a 4-track and a sampler. And I guess that was early stages of production to some extent. I feel like a lot of producers were DJs first and just learning how to match beats, loop beats, and, those creative ideas turn into production later.
Right.
But then, when it was time to do mixtapes, once I was home after college, whatever, and I was hustling mixtapes, my thing was, because everybody was screaming all over them and a lot of the quality was bad, I decided to, shout out to my old partner, Vin the Chin. We used to do tapes and we used to write no shout outs, no screaming. Like we'd write that on the front. So we try to keep it extra crispy. So getting the mixtape, it sounded like an album. And, if you liked a certain song, you wouldn't have to hear the DJ screaming all over it or scratching it a million times. It was just like, as clean as possible. And I think a lot of people appreciated that because it was hard to find good copies of these new records or clean copies to bump it at the DJ talking shit through the whole thing, So we took a different approach with that. And that's it. I just was a fanatic for exclusive stuff. So, I would reach out to artists, but on those labels, and then of course rock and soul with the bootlegs, the white labels. Shout out to Ruben. Scott Ruben used to be behind the counter when slipping the slipping the bootlegs, and Beat Street, Music Factory, SOS, all the record stores in New York. We used to run around and try to get the exclusives.
So with that being said, obviously you started building relationships with artists and everything along the way, correct?
Correct.
So how did you get into production? What made you start producing? Who were some of your early influences on production?
I mean, basically, like I said, it was a natural transition from DJing. So, after I graduated high school, I wanted to go to school to learn about production, and I went upstate New York to a school called Ithaca. And when I went up there, I was, around a lot of other DJs from Brooklyn, and we had a little clique that we formed. And one of my roommates, freshman year, bought an MPC 3000. So once he bought that, I learned on his machine. I fell in love with making music, and the following year, I bought myself a 2000, which was actually cheaper at the time. I had just come out. So that was, I believe, 95, I started making beats. You know what I mean? I bought my first beat machine. And like I said, it was just a transition. Because like I said, when you have two turntables and you have a little 2-second sampler or 5-second sampler, they used to have the Gemini samplers. Then you'd have the 4 tracks that were analog. But then once you went to the digital 8 tracks with the hard drives, like basically always wanted to step it up, keep stepping it up. And when I saw what the beat machine could do, and like we were so used to rapping over instrumentals, so to be able to make a real beat to rap over, because I was rapping my ass off at the time too, and I was around a lot of rappers, so instead of just rapping over instrumentals, it was great to actually make the beats, whether they were good or not. That's how it started in 95, 96. Yeah.
Got you. So we're gonna get to the rapping part in a second here. So we're gonna get to that, no question. Okay. So listen, how did you get your first beat to an artist? How did you start getting your production? Because let me say this to you. I have to salute to you in your production side. I love the beats. I love your style. But you have produced for so many artists. Let's just name a few. You've produced for Tragedy, Gaddafi, Lloyd Banks, Terror Squad, Raz Kaz, Mariah Carey, Biggie, Black Rob, Wu-Tang, Nori, just to name a few. How did you get this ball rolling? I mean, you've produced for so many people, and we're going to get to some more recent production. You've produced so many records. How did you get that process going where you actually started getting your beats to artists to land the production?
It definitely was a process, but it became an everyday hustle basically. And at first I wasn't concerned with getting paid. And I think that's the mentality I had, is that you got to get heard before you get paid. So get as many people to rap over your beats and, have a drop on it, or have them say your name and get it on some mixtapes. And that would be a commercial for your production. So, just even, people that were coming on my mixtapes, I'd give them beats to rap to. But, like I say, Tragedy was actually, you mentioned Tragedy, and he was one of the very first person to rap over my beats that was released was actually the Far Side, which is pretty crazy. I had a manager at the time that was working at an indie label that was working with Far Side, and they needed a remix for the Far Side and Black Thought, like overnight. They needed it like the next day. So I made a quick beat, and they accepted it the next day. And that was like my first placement. So it came out on vinyl. It was a remix. I never met Farside or Black Thought, but they paid me for it. And that actually put the light bulb in my head, like, wow, like I could make some quick money doing this production. But the real first album I was on was Tragedy, Gaddafi, Still Reporting. And I did 4 joints on there, and I just met him at a sneaker pimping party down in the Lower East Side. So I was introduced to him. And the next day we went to Havoc's house. He invited me, and we made these records. And that's it. Like once, I was making a lot of beats for myself, but I had a lot of rappers coming by I had a place in the Bronx, and people would just come by, and I would just record something every day with whoever walked through those doors. We were going to do a song, and all these songs got leaked to the mixtapes, and it just got me a little buzz. And then the roster started getting better and better, and then I ran into Jay Mills, and he was just the underground Harlem rapper. But when he did the No 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 beat, that wound up on Hot 97 with, and he put Cam and T.I. on it. So suddenly I was on the radio, and Flex is dropping bombs, and it just, and that turned into a whole more business opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was an incredible record. You know what I mean? It was dope. And I didn't even know you produced that back then. You know what I mean? But no, that's a dope record, and it's been so many classics over the years. So I'm just trying to paint this picture of how multifaceted you are, and you go from being a DJ, right? To learning and honing in on your production skills, and of course equally being an MC. But we're gonna get to that. So talk to me about, you're a multi-platinum producer at this point, but also talk to me about being nominated for a Grammy with this record with Mariah Carey, Your Girl. Talk to me about that process.
Well, the Mariah record was definitely a super blessing for me. It was a right place and right time situation. I was working with Nori. I was engineering and producing for him. So I was kind of his in-house guy when he had a studio in Manhattan, and he had just got signed to Rock La Familia by Damon Dash. This is during the whole reggaeton movement of 2005. So he came by the studio and surprised Nori by bringing Mariah, who Nori had never met, and was, he was starstruck himself. And, people were recording her on the DVD, on cameras for DVDs. This is the DVD era.
Right.
And in that time, I was sitting, I was in the middle of engineering a session, so everything had to stop, but I still had access to the boards and the speakers. So I just started playing beats as background music. And when I got to, I think, the fifth beat, she said, "Oh, I like that. What beat is that?" And that just started, the dialogue. And I sent her that beat, and I sent her another one, and the other one stuck. So like I said, I was just right place, right time. And like I always say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So, and I was doing all that stuff for Nori for free too. I always tell people, like, to pay your dues. I was doing beats for free. I was doing a lot of stuff for free just to get into those rooms, and catch some of that traffic. So, I tell a lot of, I've seen a lot of up and coming guys, try to put a price tag on everything right away. And sometimes it messes up. There's justification. You should get paid for your work, but you should also choose your battles and weigh out if the relationship or a favor from this person is worth more than, a couple G's or whatever. So, I was very grateful that, I had access to Nori's studio, and he'd have me there every day. And, other people, didn't want to do something like that. They wanted to get paid off their beats. They wanted to get paid for their engineering, but I was just happy to be there. And I was able to do a lot of records through that studio. You know what I mean? And Mariah was the biggest one. And, so I always got to thank Nori for that one.
Absolutely. So you got nominated for a Grammy for that particular record. So again, you go from, starting to DJ in the early 90s, right? College radio, going to school, starting to work with all of these, artists, right? For free, right? You're just paying your dues. And then you land the J Mills record. Now you're on the radio, right? And then you fast forward, and now you land this record with Mariah Carey. So it seems like things are going very well for you, and you're starting to produce a little bit of everybody in hip hop. A lot of dope underground and classic records, right? From Scram Jones. Okay, so I still want to talk a little bit more about the production side. Talk to me about, some of the newer artists that you've worked with. Talk to me about working with Troy Ave, Dave East, and Eminem. Talk to me about, the process with some of the newer artists versus how, you were producing records, in the 90s or even, the early 2000s. Talk to me about that.
Well, you mentioned those particular artists. I mean, all of them, the Troy Aves and Dave East, I definitely worked with them before they were household names. I gave, Troy his first single called Hot Out that got him on the radio and got him on MTV and everything. And, it's weird though, because I'm trying not to say anything too crazy, but first of all, that was great, and that was a great look for him and a great look for me. But a lot of the new artists, they what it is with technology is that they're used to being in their comfort zone. So they're more about, hey, send me a beat, than instead of getting in the studio. When I did the song with Troy, for instance, he came to my house. We did 4 records. They all became singles and videos. But then after that, it was, impossible to get him back. Send me a beat. And the thing is that I'm into to actually producing. I don't want to just make the beat. Making the beat is not production. You could be a beat maker or producer. I know a lot of people have done these comparisons and these interviews, but making the beat's just one element, but actually putting the song together and working out the structure and the chorus and the breakdowns, whatever it may be, I like to be a part of that. I'm a songwriter too. I was too, and I like a lot of the stuff. The good stuff comes post-production, after the vocals are down, being able to put breakdowns, and whatever it may be, whether it's scratches, whether it's this or that. And, I like to have that that room to be creative after the vocals are down. So it's like for the Troy stuff, he recorded it and just put it out. We didn't even mix the records. I didn't really get a chance with that. But at the same time, you know, I'm always into new talent and I always see what's coming. So like Dave East, for instance, you know, I used to pick him up from the projects in Harlem, you know, he used to sleep on my couch and we did, you know, no one knew who he was, but, you know, we did the Straight Outta Harlem mixtape and we were banging out. But once Nas got a hold of him and all that, it was, you know, it was a rap with Scram Jones. But,
wow.
You know, but, and that's not a shot or anything. That's actually a fact. But I mean, after that, we circled back around and I went on tour with him and being his DJ. And, you know, we still got things in the works, but it's just, you know, I don't know, the new artists and the old artists, the old school ones like to get up in the room with you and really vibe, and the new ones just want you to send them the music and do it on their own sometimes. So I prefer the old school way of sitting down and going through ideas, because I don't like taking shots in the dark of just sending random emails. You don't know, you know, people might want something different than you think. So it's nice to sit down and show a variety of ideas and concepts, and most of the time you get surprised at what they choose. It's never what you expect. So that's the importance of getting up with these artists. But I definitely work with a lot of artists, like I say, even the J Mills, the Dave East, the Saigons, the Troy Aves, all these guys. I definitely was like, you know, one of the first producers to work with them before they became household names. But you know, not all of them a lot of people's opportunity over loyalty. But I'm not getting into the personal side. You just want to know, you know, you mentioned those particular people, so that's my experience coming up with a lot of the newer guys, is that, you know, helping them out, and then, you know, they get to that next level. God bless. But then you mentioned Eminem, so let's just jump right to the top. So you said, so you want me to tell you my Eminem story? Is I was DJing on Shade 45. You know, shout to Lord Sear. I started with Lord Sear on his show every Friday.
Okay.
Later I got my own show on Saturdays, and then I started doing the Hanukkah radio with Paul every year. So I got cool with Paul. I was able to send him some beats for M. And the beat that I gave him, you know, they told me he wanted it, but like it was only years later till it actually came out. So that beat I had made years before he got it, and then it only came out years later. So it's pretty crazy. That beat must have been 7 years old. The In Your Head one that was on the Marshall Mathers 2 album. But
wow. Okay.
Oh no, excuse me, the Revival album. But before that, because Paul knew I knew how to scratch and all that, and I think he wanted to keep it in-house, he asked me to do scratches on M's album, and I also thought he was just going to send it to me to do at home, but he said, no, nothing leaves the vault. I have to bring you to Eminem, and you have to do the scratches in front of him and get his approval. So we have to go to Detroit, which was fine with me. So me and Paul took a plane to Detroit, to 8 Mile, to his studio over there, and I was able to sit down with M and do the scratches for his single Berserk for that. That was the Marshall Mathers LP too, and that was very cool. And I got a good rapport with him. And then for the Kamikaze, I got up with him again to do scratches for the Kamikaze song. So that's how it all worked. So yeah, that's how it worked out.
Very nice. So the reason why I brought up these particular artists is because, you know, you're looking at a vast range, right? We're talking about from the 90s to now, right? So we're talking a 20, 25-year range, right? And so we're talking about, you know, you produced differently. You used different equipment back then, I'm assuming, that you use now, right?
Right.
And you probably approach production differently now than you did then. And not to mention, you have seasoned artists, then you have new artists. You got legendary artists versus new artists. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to kind of just really see the differentiation between how you dealt with, you know, a Saigon and a J Mills, or even Wu-Tang versus Eminem. You know what I mean? And I think you broke it down. Troy Ave or Dave East, these are more, you know, the technology driven, send them the beat, you know, and then they knock it out, versus getting in the studio like you prefer with Eminem, correct?
Right. Well, Emma, I was in the studio for both times of the scratching, the actual song he did on his own. But, you know, I definitely prefer to be in the studio. Like, for instance, all of Reakwon's records I did with him, you talk about Wu-Tang, like, you know, we've done, you know, he used to come to my house weekly and just, like that's the vibe, because I could play different samples, I could play beats, I could, like, all types of different ideas. We could trade ideas, and, you know, we wind up going with 4 or 5, you know, we could knock 4 or 5 songs or 4 or 5 ideas out a night that way, rather than just taking a shot to land one from a distance. So, you know, that's always been way better. And then you feel closer to the songs, and then you have the files, and then, even when the rapper leaves, you can, wake up with a fresh ear and do changes and make it sound even crazier. So I like having that control, and I like having that synergy in the room. So, that's how it was for Ray. I mean, but then everyone works different. So for instance, Ray, I've done about 50 records with, and I was with him for 90% of those. But then Ghostface, I was on about 4 of his projects too, but I've never recorded with him in the studio. Like, I've never physically been. He has his own comfort zone. He likes to be by himself. When he records with his engineer, he's got his own, method to his madness. So I get it too. I get it. Some writers like to just, record by themselves, while others need people in the room. Like someone like Nori, when I used to record with him, like every morning we had the sidekicks, and he would send a group text out to about 15 of us, like, where you at? Like, he'd need everyone there, and he wouldn't even have a plan. He just, he's, as you could tell by what he's doing now, he's like very social, and always just, I don't say needs people around, but wants people around. So some people like that atmosphere too, just to have like a party, not a party, but, a social environment.
Right.
To do their stuff. Other people just want to really concentrate and not have any distractions. So, which I respect both. I do respect both.
Absolutely. So, so once again, it sounded like it was, a whole lot of incredible experiences that made great music and a lot of classics. So Scram, I have to tell you, at this point of the interview, you're probably the only true triple threat that I've ever actually interviewed. And what I mean by that is I've interviewed a lot of legends, and a lot of legends dibble dabble in, most great producers have always came from being a DJ first, right? Most of them, not all of them, but most of them. Okay. Now you're one of those. You're a great producer, but you're also a great DJ. You're a turntablist when it comes to DJing, with the scratches, the cuts, the tricks, the whole nine, and you're nice. You're also a dope producer. But now let's add the triple threat. You're also a nice MC, and not just dibble and dabble and rhyme once in a while. You actually have made albums, singles. So now, with that being said, talk to me about the MC side of Scram Jones. When did you start rhyming, and what brought that on, and how did you become this triple threat that I don't think many people even give you credit for? Because, again, if you really think about it while I'm talking to you, how many DJs do you know that can rhyme their ass off, scratch their ass off, and make beats incredible? But go ahead.
Well, first of all, I do appreciate that. And, I will give a shout out. Actually, one of the, someone I didn't mention that was a big influence that was a triple threat, was Diamond D. That was my guy. I used to, Diamond D was maker,
Yes, sir. Absolutely. He's incredible. Yes, sir.
Him, Pete Rod, Lord Finesse, whatever. But anyway, but when it comes to me personally, I am the type that just was so infatuated with hip hop. Like when I first of all, I was writing rhymes my whole life. That was like me doodling in class, was me basically just writing rhymes or playing with words. Like, and even when I would hand the papers, there would be, when I was supposed to do essays, I would do poems. Like I loved, just putting words together, just doing those mental exercises. So I always would rap or write, I should say. But then once I got my turntables when I was 15, it's usually, you get 2 turntables and a microphone. So that being said, all those vinyls with instrumentals on them, and me being 15 and young, we would have so many freestyle sessions and bug out. And that's another reason why, I wanted to make my own beats, because, I didn't want to rap over the instrumentals. But, these freestyle sessions and getting a 4-track turned into, hey, maybe I should write some of these lyrics down and record something. And those freestyles that I recorded, that's when I said, hey, maybe we should make some original stuff and actually make the beats. But so it all was an evolution from, from the turntables and the microphone and the 4-track turning into getting my own beats and recording myself. And it was just something that I just loved. Like, I just love writing. And, at first, I thought I had to, make as many syllables and think like it took me a while to learn how to find pockets, because I was trying to jam in as many words as possible with as many metaphors. And, I was super nerdy with it, looking back when I listened to some of my older stuff. But later on, I worked it all out, and once I got, I released my first record in '99 called Liquid Heat, and it was actually, I did that in college. It was my friend's school project, and I just did the song. He shot the video for his project. But anyway, once we released that, it actually opened up the doors for the industry. Eric Sermon was the first to reach out to me. He brought me to his house. He wanted me to be Def Squad. I did some songs with him. Warren G flew me to his house to get on his album, and then I got the unsigned hype column, and had to battle for that whole thing, and wound up working with Megahertz. He was trying to sign me as an artist, but I was still making beats at the same time. So, and it seemed like the music I was making with my beats was more of a synergy than any of these outside producers, even though I was, super flattered and humbled that they even thought, they even wanted to work with me. But like I said, back then I was just in the bars. I wasn't into like hooks, and my hooks were scratches. And during that era, it's like you needed a hit song to even compete. It wasn't the internet. Later, I had Napster and LimeWire, and my stuff would get uploaded, but it wasn't like now where there's no middleman and there's no filter, and you could really get a buzz by yourself.
Right.
You kind of needed a machine, and it's like, Sony threw me a little deal, and they wanted all these club songs, and it just wasn't me. It was a reach. They came out super corny and and
right.
But yeah, and then once I started selling the beats, and after like not being able to successfully get a situation with label, because that was always the goal, and I took a liking to just being behind the scenes with the beats, but I always still had the bug. So every couple years I would come out with something just for myself, and I still got the bug, and I still got songs in my computer. I still want to share. So it's kind of like I'm working on so many projects now, but once my plate is clear, I definitely still want to release some of my personal music just for myself, and hopefully people like it. But it's definitely, each time I drop something, I would hope it's going to come out better than the last one. So I'm actually looking forward to sharing some of the new stuff. You also rap differently later when you get older, because now it's like your rhymes start becoming reflective. Your rhymes, now I'm rapping about life and like serious shit. You're not emo shit, but just a little more mature, but also, not, because I used to be super silly and immature with my punchlines and, bathroom jokes and sex and all this shit. But now it's like, I can really reflect on like a deeper level. And I think that's what people want to hear now anyway, in the world we live in, like, some life bars. At least that's for me, that's something that I would come out with.
Absolutely. And I brought that up because I truly believed, as I got to know you a little bit from afar, right? And and just researched you in depth, aside from just the assessment of listening to the music and watching you DJ and and things like that. You had mentioned Liquid Heat. I know you put out other records like Shady 380 Lady and Bang Bang and Speed Demons and many more. But I just wanted you to just elaborate a little bit on how you put your records together as an MC, because again, like I said before, I believe that you've had 3 different careers simultaneously. You know what I mean? Like, you're literally DJing one moment, and then you're producing records one moment, and again, these are 3 different careers. Not every DJ is a producer. Not every producer can scratch and cut and go do a party and a blend or a remix, and not every MC can make a beat or go DJ. You know what I mean? So, so with that being said, again, like I said before, I believe you are one of the true triple threats that I've had the opportunity to interview, because yes, salute Pete Rock, salute Diamond D, and even Kid Capri when he wants to pick up the mic once in a while.
He just FaceTimed me a couple weeks ago, playing me he's dropping a rap album right now, and it's actually fire. Like, I was like, wow, like, you definitely are the original triple threat.
Right.
So,
Because Kid Capri to me has always been one of the better beatsmiths. He just doesn't get the credit for the production. You know what I mean? But for you, Scram, again, when you listen to your records, you don't think, oh, this is a producer trying to rap, or this is a DJ just trying to rhyme. Nah, it sounds like an MC just making records. And when you DJ or when you make beats, even though when you make beats, I do feel the DJ coming out of you, because I can tell, DJs make beats differently. You know what I mean? And, you got the DJ ear, so I can hear that in the production. Okay, so with all that being said, Scram, can you describe to me your DJ style?
My DJ style, has to be creative. I mean, that's like I don't like just playing records. I mean, I'm not saying that nothing's wrong with just playing records, and but I'm always trying to link records together. So I don't care if I'm doing a trap set or old school. I'm heavy into wordplay. I'm heavy into transitions. That's just one. So people, whether they were at the greenhouse with me, when I used to DJ there, all the trap sets, or whether it's the old school jam or it's on the radio, I always try to find a way to make one record go to the next cleverly. So I do take a lot of time, and it's I sometimes say this is the MC in me, because just like you always want every other line to have a punchline, it's kind of like I'm looking for punchlines in records all the time. And I think a lot of DJs just throw a pile of records. Okay, this is my 90s, this is my 80s. They don't really plan ahead. They just throw them in. And mind you, it's fine. Like, the element of surprise is always awesome when you just drop bangers, banger after banger. I think the listener doesn't care as long as you're dropping bangers. But I always try to just take it to another level, where if a song ends with a certain word or a certain sample or something, I could go into another one that starts the same way, and I could get a little wow factor, because I do want to be a performer, or I am a performer, but if people are watching me and it's like or in general, I just want to make myself different. So I always try to think creatively and think of how can I flip this. So that's how I do. I spend a lot of time doing, like, just sitting at home in my iTunes library, just trying to listening to music, and then listening to, okay, I'm going to end it after this chorus, and he says says a certain phrase, and I'm like, what other songs say that phrase? And look for a record that may go in that genre. And I got some really cool sets that I'm actually, I'm about to jump on Twitch for the first time. I haven't even been on Twitch. People keep saying, jump on it and get start doing your DJ sets online. And I was doing that on IG Live until I started getting kicked off because of the copyright stuff that was going on.
Right.
And then I just shifted into production mode. I'm one of those guys. So like you mentioned, I wear 3 different hats, and it's kind of like it's a mixture of multitasking / ADD. So it's like, I go.
Okay.
So it's like I have an ADD approach in the studio. I could spend days straight just working on DJ sets, but then if I get the producer bug or I'm working on projects, I could just spend days or even weeks just making beats and not even looking at the turntables. And that goes for the writing too. When I do have those moments that I'm recording, I'm in MC mode. I'm not thinking about anything else. So, I bounce back and forth. And what was I going to say? I don't know. I forgot what my point was, but.
Well, that's all right. I mean, I just wanted you, to give me your style in your own words as a DJ. And by the way, I do, again, I'm a DJ. So I see how you communicate through the records and you piece it together like a beautiful puzzle. And one of the sets that I love that you've done is where you have records talking to each other. Is you took the female vocal singer sample that was in the Eric B. and Rakim Paid in Full remix, and you put it on top of Trans Europe Express, the Planet Rock sample, right? The Kraftwerk, and you made the singing do what the melody was happening in when the Trans Europe Express, and it was incredible. I loved it. You know what I mean? So salute to you. So now, you described to me your DJ style. Now describe to me your production style as a producer.
I mean, my production style. I mean, it's, first of all, always hard drums. Even I mean, I think drums are the percussion is the main thing of all beats. I mean, basically, and I I like my company's called Beast Music. I came up through that era. You want the speakers to shake. You want it to rumble. And even if you put a sweet melody on it, you still want the drums knocking. So, I always care about the drums the most. But even recently, last couple of years, it's been about melodies. A lot of the stuff that I'm telling you now hasn't even come out, so it may not make sense. But I've been working on like other types of stuff outside of hip hop, and working with like songwriters and stuff. So that's been a fun challenge, working with musicians and that. But coming up, it was just about hard, grimy samples. Chopping up samples, chopping up drums, and I just needed my drums to hit harder than. It got to a point where like I was sending beats out that were like distorted. They was too loud. Like I didn't think it wasn't the best mix. I just had them like
right.
It's like too loud. Like it's too distorted. I'm like, but at my house it's just knocking. But someone else puts it in, they're like, yo, you got this shit's way too loud.
Yeah.
Like I struggled with that early in my career. That I would send out a lot of distorted beats because I would just have them knocking at my house. But
right.
Yeah, man, that's it. I mean, different style. Like right now, I was on the MPC for most of my career, but just this year, I moved to the FL, which is the Fruity Loops, what everyone's making, all the modern music on and the trap music, and it just hits differently, and it's a different creative process too. So instead of hitting the pads, you're drawing in the steps, and even though I prefer hitting the pads, the way that it locks in the FL, the way it locks is a whole different. It's a different pocket, and it's just sonically more modern. So, that's what I've been doing recently. But now people are hitting me for the grimy stuff. So I'm like, hold on, I just worked out the formula for the modern sound, and now y'all want me to go back to the grimy. Now I gotta get that back on the MP again.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, so describe yourself to me as an MC. Give me your style as an MC in your words.
Also, it's gotta be clever. Like I can't, no filler bars, no granola bars.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
How I used to do it is that every line had to be a punchline. I used to be like that. Now I understand it's people just conversational rap and real life rap works well too. But back in the days, every line. So I used to write rhymes just with words. I would just do I would just write like 3-syllable words down. If I wrote cantaloupe, I'd write antelope and bag of dope. And that was my process of writing punchlines. So if I have 10 multi-syllable words that rhyme perfectly together, then I'm going to think, okay, I'll cut you open like a cantaloupe, and just whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? So I used to do it like that. But now it's just, it's got to be multi-syllable with me, even though, and it's just, and right now it's just I've been doing a lot of just life bars and metaphors. I don't know. I like playing with words. That's why I like slang. I like just playing with words and saying things differently and trying to be clever. And so that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Okay, incredible. Again, I just wanted to. You're a multifaceted, 3-part, 3-tiered, individual. You do it all, and you do it all well, I may say. Okay, so let's go back to the DJ aspect. Talk to me about your Shade 4-5 show, your relationships there, and what you're doing on radio right now.
So Shade 4-5 show every Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. I do something called the Scramble Mix. Basically, I've been on that radio show. I've been on the station for almost 10 years, but I've had my own show for about 5. And I used to play the new stuff the first hour, and I still do play some new stuff in the beginning. But the second hour, I would do these sample mixes where I would show I'd play a classic soul record, and then I'd get to that certain part that was sampled and loop it up, speed it up, and drop in the record. And people went crazy over that to the point where I decided to let it just be the majority of my show instead of just being a segment of the show. So basically, it's called the Scramble Mix, for obvious reasons. I'm scrambling genres, and obviously it's a play on words with my name. But every week, I just try to think of a different concept, whether it's a different artist or a different album whose anniversary it may be. So it could be a Jay-Z Scramble Mix. It could be a Nipsey Hussle. It could be a Tribe Called Quest. And I really just I spend the time to get all the samples and show all the transitions. And, and people really enjoy them. It's almost like a teaching lesson. Everyone says, I learned so much. This is like a class, like a sampling class. Like, I didn't know this came from there. And what's really cool is the samples, the soulful samples, sometimes are even better than the actual rap records, because just hearing soul nowadays is pretty refreshing, I think, at least to my ear.
Absolutely.
There's not a lot of soul in new music. So, on a Saturday afternoon to hear Marvin Gaye, actually it's his birthday today, funny enough, but a Saturday afternoon to hear a bunch of soul records, people really love it, even before the record drops. I mean, I always get people put it on their stories, and they're usually bumping the sample, not even the record. So I love soul records, and it just gives me an excuse to play them on a Saturday afternoon,
Absolutely. The show's incredible. I wanted you to talk about that. And it's on now. And tell me when it is again exactly. Every Saturday, right? What time?
Right. Every Saturday between Saturday 6 to 8 p.m. on the East Coast. So that'll be 3 to 5 on the West Coast every Saturday afternoon. Yeah, man, I'm really enjoying the Scramble Mix. I post a lot of them. I try to post a lot on SoundCloud or Mixcloud. Sometimes they get taken down. I'm working on getting a thumb drive situation where I could just send out thumb drives filled with them, because people constantly are asking for them. and but they're definitely fun. And then on Sundays we do Sundays I do a live one on IG Live. Actually, I'm starting to do on Twitch with an artist, an actual visual artist named Andalus, where he paints. He's like the hip hop Bob Ross, and he paints, and I do these scramble mixes, and then we bid the painting. So that's every Sunday at 7 on my Twitch.
Wow, that's incredible.
So,
that's
dope. Getting that started. No, yeah, we did that through quarantine. We actually it was actually really cool, and we actually made some money out of it too. But we had, Shaquille O'Neal bought a painting, D Nice bought one, Fat Joe, and this guy's incredible, and he really brings these things to light in about 60 to 90 minutes. With a spray can and a paintbrush, and we've done every single rapper. I mean, we have to start doing the rappers, a second time over because we've done so many. But
wow,
but it's really it's really cool. People enjoy watching them come to life, and then I just sit on the microphone and do my little scramble mix, and we're calling it art class, so definitely check for that. We're trying to get it popping on Twitch now. So
nice. That's incredible. Dope. Okay, so as a DJ and as a producer, aside from you producing artists and production, as a DJ you also do remixes and blends. Are there any notable remixes or blends that that are noteworthy to talk about?
Well, my thing with the blend thing, I do have a mixtape out. Actually, when I got the radio show 5 years ago, I launched it with a blend mixtape that was called the Scramble Mix. So you can actually get that online with about 25 blends. But my thing is, I don't really release blends. I like to perform them. So, that's my whole thing. Is that people have asked me, if I, I've done stuff I've done stuff live, but people have asked for copies, and I never really gave it to them. Not on purpose, or my thing is I'm old school, so I like to scratch up the acapella and scratch the beat, and it's more of a performance thing that I like to do live. So yeah, I've got plenty of cool blend ideas that I do, but you can't really find them online. Put it like that.
Right, you got to catch them live when you're doing them live, right?
There you go.
Absolutely. Okay, so I don't want to speak too much on this, but it's noteworthy, so I got to mention it. We're just going to credit Scram Jones for the Mr. Telephone Man blend, okay?
Yeah, I mean, please do. I mean, shout out to my boy Butch Rock too. He actually just came by my crib to bring me some food because he got the restaurant. But he did a telephone one with the phone tap beat, and he killed it. And then, I did it to the last night, changed it all, and it got jacked. But it also became now it's a famous blend that's not even out. But
right.
Well, I'm posting it when I hang up with you. I'm posting it on my page. I did a little routine with it. I changed it up so people could hear some creativity with that. But that was just me being clever with the phones ringing, and I like doing stuff like that.
Absolutely. So anyways, I just had to mention it, and we're gonna leave it at that. We'll leave it right there. Let's credit Scram Jones for the Mr. Telephone Man blend. All right, we're just gonna leave it right there. All right.
For sure. Most definitely.
No question. So, Scram, talk to me about Beast Music. Talk to me about your company.
Well, Beast Music has been my company since 05 or 04 when it's my production company. And all my production is through Beast Music, and got some artists signed. Shout out to Xander Goodhart. That's an amazing, I don't want to say pop artist or alternative artist, but I'm probably most excited about his project coming out this summer because we've been holding on to it for about 3 years, literally. Very special project that I co-wrote the whole thing and produced the whole thing with him. And so that I'm just a little side note. I'm just saying check for that. He's on a couple choruses. He's done choruses for Jada, for me, and for Styles, and now he's all over Jim Jones's project. That we're dropping this summer. So that's one Beast Music artist. And then, I got songwriters and stuff like that, and I got my studio. But basically, Beast Music is the movement. And, I got the name back in the days just for the aggressive hip-hop that I was making and just beasting. And now it's turned into, more all different genres. And that's just the team. That's the name of the radio show, too. It's Beast Music Radio. And I probably need to do more some more merch on Beast Music.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's why I brought it up. I mean, because it sounds like it went from just, a movement or a sound to a full-blown company, right? So,
Right.
so yeah, I just wanted you to elaborate a little bit on what Beast Music was.
Right. So I mean, it's it's like I say, it's a production company, and it's a bunch of us that work on music together, as well as the radio show, and the overall vibe. I don't want to say I almost said the New York hip hop vibe, but it's broader than that, and I'm working with artists all over the country with different sounds. So it's kind of hard for me to put it in a, you know what I mean? But it's like I say, that's just the team, that's the squad, that's the company, and yeah, that's about it.
Got you. So what are you using in 2021 to make beats? What's your tool for production at this point?
I mean, like I said, right now I just switched over to the FL Studios, which is I'm really enjoying. But I've always used the MPC, and I'm probably gonna have to bounce back and forth depending on who I'm producing for. Always using Pro Tools and using keyboards and getting up with musicians and using the turntables. But yeah, just literally over quarantine, it was actually my 13-year-old son who started making beats during the pandemic. When he had all that downtime, he actually learned online how to do it with FL, and he actually showed me, Dad, you gotta get off that dusty MP and get on.
Wow, right.
And I'm like, and he's playing me stuff that he's working on, and I'm hearing how crispy is coming out, and I'm like, I was super against it for years. First of all, you don't have to do it on a PC, but it's made for a PC. So right there, it sounded foreign to me to make music on a PC. Later, finding out that there's actually advantages to using the PC, but it just was very foreign for years. I got a couple friends that have been trying to convince me to switch over, but it was really my son staying on me every day, like, Dad, like, trust me. So one day I just went to Micro Center, I bought the computer, I loaded it up, and it took me a while to learn how to navigate, and change my process. But now I'm not gonna lie, the beats are kind of sounding crazy right now. So shout out to my son for pushing, and that's pretty ironic that my kid wound up pushing me to just to level up with production. But now,
right.
Now we both have our little studios in the house, and we trading ideas, and it's become a real musical house. Like literally just over this last year. So that's the one silver lining of the pandemic, is that this downtime that we've had has turned my son into a producer and turned my house into a real musical spot right now.
Wow, that's dope. That's dope. Incredible. All right. So what notable projects would you like to talk about that you're working on right now?
So I've got a bunch of projects coming out, which I'm really excited about, and that's another thing I've been happy about, because in my heart, creating music and releasing music is really what I want to do, just like any creator. But you get caught in life with distractions, and on top of that, I was doing nightlife DJing so many nights a week, and the radio show takes preparation, and I got my family, my son, so I wasn't working in the studio as much as I was still producing, but not every day 10 hours like I used to. So the pandemic, when it got rid of all the clubs and all that stuff, it put me right back in front of the boards, and I was able to knock out. I did an album with Jim Jones strictly over Zoom. We did the entire thing. He calls it Quarantine Studios, but it's a virtual studio thing that we do on Zoom. So
wow, okay.
We did about a dozen records with some really cool features on it, and that should be out this summer. And me and Ghostface did a project. It's not done, but we got about seven, 8 records. And then Gorilla Nems from Coney Island, from Brooklyn. Me and him have a project that I produced. So those 3, and then my artist Xander Goodhart, who's gonna drop his alternative project, which I'm probably the most excited about. So those 4 projects should all come out this summer, and then once the smoke clears and I get to that 4th quarter around my birthday, is usually when I like to drop something myself. So I'm hoping that I have the focus and the time to knock out a little maybe capsule for myself and grab some of these records that are just collecting cobwebs and release something myself as well. So that's what the theme of this year is, just purging all this stuff out of my hard drive. It'll definitely be, it'll definitely feel good for me energetically, and hopefully people start, paying attention again to the production. And the cool thing is that it's not just in that same box that people know me for. So it's not, they're going to get a bunch of different sounds of production and songs from me, where they're going to realize that we're making all types of stuff over here, and that's what I'm most excited about too.
Wow. Well, I look forward to hearing all the new records. I look forward to hearing you rhyme. I look forward to hearing the production, and I look forward to watching you DJ. And I'm sure all of these things will come to light once we get out of this, right? So with that being said, with all of the artists that you've worked with over your whole career, and it's been a lot of them, who's the one artist that you've yet to work with that you want to work with?
Oh, I mean, of course, do I have to say one?
You can say as many as you want.
I mean, I was able to, so basically, and I don't want to sound generic of my top rappers, but, obviously the Jay-Z, the Nas, the Kendrick, the J. Cole's, those are like, my top guys, I still want to work with like Benny. I haven't done that, but Nas, I was able to work on Jada's album, so he was able, he's on one of my records on Jada's album, so that was a bucket list thing to hear him over one of my beats. But Jay-Z would be, I mean, I'm sure every producer wants that, but Jay-Z would be incredible. And then, of course, someone like a Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole would be pretty incredible too. So I would probably put those guys up there.
Got you. Well, I'm sure it's just a matter of time. You know what I mean?
And God, knock on wood, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let me ask you this. As we wrap, right, and we talk about what you would like to do as a producer, and you're talking about releasing, personal records, maybe, by the end of the year. What would you like, or what is your plan as a DJ? You know what I mean? What can we look forward to in the future from Scram Jones, just, from the DJ aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I think I really have to jump on Twitch weekly. I mean, I'm getting, I have friends with the Green Lanterns and Static Selectors, and I'm like, everybody's like, what are you doing, Scram? Like, why the hell aren't you on Twitch? And, and I'm always like, well, I'm trying to get the technical right. First of all, I'm in producer mode, but then it was a whole process to get, it's not just like jumping on IG. It's like the OBS and this, that, and because I'm creative, I'm thinking to myself, well, if I'm doing wordplay mixes and I do like a wordplay Wednesday show, it'd be great that the words come on the screen. Like I'm seeing other people with things popping on the screen and all that cool stuff. So
right.
I might be acting a little too ambitious and waiting to like make too many fireworks. I probably should just get on a DJ. But I have a technician coming over today to help me load up this thing called the Stream Deck where you can press buttons and the images come on the screen. So if I do a wordplay mix or a funny transition, I could actually, press the visual and it could come on the screen and be a little more entertaining and creative. So I was waiting to learn all that, but it's been taking a long time. So ultimately, though, definitely going to be on Twitch. I mean, now even with this whole, blend talk and all this controversy, it's like it's kind of took me off my producer chair and put me back in the DJ's chair again. And now I'm like, okay, you guys just put the battery in my back again. Let me get back to that as well. Let me not leave my DJ hat for dead. So yeah, just check for me on Twitch. Definitely. I mean, I have my Twitch channel on my IG bio, but you'll see there's not one video there. But so I will start doing that soon. And otherwise, DJ wise, I mean, just Shade 45 every Saturday, still doing that. And then, I'm definitely going to be back in the club scene. I mean, I don't want to be in. I'm still waiting for this COVID thing to pass. I'm not one of these cocky guys that want to be in, crowded freaking rooms like that. But it looks like things are potentially looking up. Let me not, it's really hard to gauge, but that'd be great to get back to DJing some of these parties, this summer, some outside parties. I love DJing outside. So if I could get into the scene, some good weather, play some oldies, that's the vibe I love.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Scram, before we get out of here, can you give me, now I know you got a lot of them, so don't rack your brain, but can you give me one Scram Jones story from your career? Now, you got 3 careers going on at the same time, so you can pick a one, right? But all I'm asking is for our listeners, can you tell us something from your career, a dope hip-hop story people might not know about you?
That's a broad question. So now, something they don't know about me personally, or just like a funny experience?
I mean, you know, really, whatever you want. I like for people who I interview to share, you know, their experiences on things that have happened in their career that they'll never forget, and it may have, you know, changed your life, or it may have, you know, just did things that happened in your life that was crazy or amazing. You know, just one cool hip hop historical story from Scram Jones.
Wow, man, this is hard, and I feel bad. I literally just drawing a blank right now. I'm like, I'm just a random hit. I mean, and this is production, DJ, and rapping.
It could be anything, a studio experience, you know, an album, you know, whatever it is, you know, and if not, it's okay. I just wanted to put it on your brain so we can pull something out of you historic.
I would just say that, you know, because I always tell the story, and I got to get some new stories. I don't tell always this part when I talk about the whole Mariah thing with Nori and how I got that beat. And that beat was actually made in New Zealand. And I was doing an underground record with an underground rapper named Reakwon. And they had a label called Dawn Raid. And I went there. I basically produced the record for him, and I rapped on it. And Rock Raider did the scratches on it.
Okay.
So when the record was going to come out, they invited me to New Zealand to perform with them. And I spent a week there in the studio just making beats. So I wound up sampling one of their like, I won't say R&B artists, but basically they had a group that was singing, that had a love song on a guitar, and that's what I sampled from Mariah. But it was pretty funny though when I went there. We had to perform, and I had a 50 Cent drop, and I think we were opening up for 50, and I put the drop on, and everyone thought 50 Cent was going to come out, and then I came out. They're like, "What the hell is this guy?" But anyway, it was
okay.
Like 10,000 people. But it was just crazy that that just messing around with one of their songs in New Zealand was the record that I was able to get to Mariah, and then when it was time to break down the beat and do all the breakdowns, it was cool to be able to know the people who made the original, so they could give me the stems of the original record and make that happen. So that was just another cool story. But you know, and then you know, the rapping thing, you know, I battled, you know, I told the story yesterday to somebody. I don't want to be repetitive, but like when I got the Unsigned Hype, I had to battle for it. And, you know, when I got to the finals of the battle, they told me I wasn't allowed to snap. Like it had to just be a performance. And I had nothing but snaps for this guy. So I wound up not snapping on him. He snapped on me and he won, and I was so fucking mad.
Wow.
And they sent my ass home right on an airplane, like straight to the airport after the battle. And, you know, I remember I spilled on myself coffee all over, and my belt broke and it was falling out. Like, it was just it was a horrible day, man. It was a horrible day. But then I wound up getting the column the next month, you know, and that was cool. But that was like a major, you know, but I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking of random stories. I don't know if they.
No. That's all right. I mean, you know, here we go. It's the life and times of Scram Jones. It sounds funny. It sounds dope. All of that. So let me ask you this. Here's another curveball. Do you have a favorite artist that you worked with? Do you have a favorite project that you worked on?
I was thinking about the project I did with Styles P. The Float project was one of them. I mean, that just came to my mind because I haven't talked about him or these guys, even though working on the Cuban Links for Reakwon was probably very surreal to me, because I was literally picking out the martial arts skits, and I was literally in the mic booth pretending to be like in the projects, doing skits with them and putting the whole album together. So looking back at that, it was pretty amazing for being such a fan of Ray and Wu-Tang in high school. And, you know, obviously the Purple Tape was the most incredible, you know, hip hop album that I was in love with. So, you know, fast forward 10, 20 years, however long it was later, that I'm in the studio with Ray, helping him compile, you know, part 2 and literally doing what I would think RZA would be doing, was like finding the martial arts skits and all that. So that was pretty insane. But when it came to the album I did with Styles doesn't write anything down, and he smokes so much weed. And I was just so impressed with when he came to my studio, and he just like put on a beat, you know, and he would just smoke and close his eyes, and he'd have his verse done in like 20, 30 minutes and wouldn't write a thing down. And he would knock 5 or 6 verses out in a session. And, you know, we knocked out a full album in a couple of weeks. And I just was so impressed with that mental exercise, especially when you smoke weed and your short attention span, you would think would be gone. But, you know, he told me, he said reading off paper messes up his flow. It's the other way around for him. And so that was pretty incredible. I was I love that project, and I love the process because it just was amazing to watch. And shout to Styles P.
Wow, wow, that's amazing. So now, in closing, I want to ask you a few more quick questions, quick answers. All right? So I'm going to do something to you I've never done before because you are that true triple threat. So, Scram, can you give me your top 5 DJs?
Okay. Top 5 DJs. I gotta put DJ Craze up there.
Okay, incredible.
I gotta put Rock Raid up there. Rest in peace. He was the homie too, and showed me super love. But obviously the world champion. DJ Scratch.
Of course.
DJ Scratch, definitely. I really like Scratch Bastard right now.
Okay, nice.
I like it. And then of course, DJ Premier. Like this, I'm looking at it 2 different ways. One is like, who's the illest technical that makes me want to go practice, but then, who also influenced me production. So I could say like, Premier, P-Rock in that world, but then I could say Q-Bird and Craze and 8-Track and Rock Raider, in the scratching world.
Right. Absolutely.
In the battle world. So that's
okay. So you said Craze. You said Scratch.
Craze, Scratch. I gotta put Q-Bert. I forgot about him. Definitely Scratch, Q-Bert, Craze. Rock Raider, and I need a 5th, huh?
You said Premier, but you don't.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely throw Premier.
Okay. Now give me your top 5 producers.
Top 5 producers. This has changed. I'll say. I know what my list used to be. Well, definitely coming up was Premier, Pete Rock. I'll say, Timbaland, Pharrell, Scott Storch, but I guess I'm not allowed to say Quincy Jones because that's like going behind, but that's obviously the goat of goats.
Absolutely.
I think there's one person I'm forgetting. Nah, that's the RZA. Throw the RZA up in there.
Of course. Absolutely. Everyone you mentioned are incredible and they're legends, no question.
Definitely.
Okay. So
and also let me just say, right now, who I enjoy watching is 2 people I really enjoy. One that's on the keys and one that's on the drums. On the keys, I love watching Scott Storch, and on the drums, I love watching A-Rab music because he's fucking insane too. So them 2 right now are great to watch. But when you talk about legendary, lifetime wise, was the first list.
All right, cool. Now give me your top 5 MCs.
Top 5 MCs. Okay, I have 2 different 5. This is the thing; you have to go by eras. So I actually have. So, okay, I'll say Nas is my favorite MC. I'll say Nas, Eminem. Man, one of my favorite MCs. My old list, because, these names, it's always been there. So it's been Nas, Jay-Z, Biggie, who the freak of my favorite MCs, Eminem, and, I like Kanye as MC too. I don't know if I like Kanye as an MC, but,
okay.
But then the newer guys, of course, the J. Cole's, the Kendricks. I mess with Griselda, I mess with Ransom. Sorry, I'm giving you like 20 names and you only wanted 5. He's like, Scram, I'm trying to put the 5 up there, man.
Right. But no, again, I'm really grilling you about this, and I've never done this to anyone because, again, you are a true triple threat. So I believe you have 3 different careers, 3 skill sets, and 3 different mindsets, and they all coexist together. You know what I mean? And they all build off each other. So, it's just interesting. You wouldn't ask an MC who his top DJs are, right? So I can literally say who's your top 5 DJs, top 5 producers, and top 5 MCs, and you really have credibility to answer it anyhow you want to. So with that being said, who you checking for in new artists? Brand new artists, new, no legends, new. Who you checking for?
Who am I checking for? New artists. Like I said, I fuck with the Griselda boys, so I fuck with I think Conway is super nice. I like Benny too. Conway and Benny are nice. I mentioned Ransom. I worked with him back in the days, and now he's getting, starting to release a lot of music again. So I always thought he was super lyrical. And who else is out there? My son actually puts me onto a lot of new artists. Who does he listen to that he goes? I don't know. I think that there's not a lot of new ones, to be honest with you. That's not, and I'm not dissing. It's just true lyricism. Like I said, we grew up in the Renaissance. We were spoiled. Our ears were spoiled. The bar was set high. So, like,
absolutely.
As much as I love the new generation, unfortunately, the old generation would kill the new generation. I'm gonna get slack for saying that, but you know what I'm saying. Like the late '90s.
I agree. I agree.
Puns. I didn't even mention the pun, the Big L. Like I didn't even mention them, but But yeah, I like the Griselda Boys, and I like Ransom, and I don't want to hang up with you. Be like, fuck, I forgot about this person.
well, I mean, that's going to happen, and it's all good. You know what I mean, Scram? I respect you, you know, and I believe you've put a lot of work in the game, and you know, you've earned, you know, anything, you know what I mean, that you want to say. I mean, it's respectful, and you know, I respect your opinion, and I just wanted to know. You know what I mean? Who you look up to, who inspired you, you know, who you look at, who's catching your ear, who impressed you, you know what I mean? Because, you know, and that's the thing, you know, in closing, it's hard to impress a legendary guy. It's hard to impress a guy who has made so many records, who's went from independent to the Grammys, who's went from a demo mixtape to platinum records. It's hard. And when you do, you know you got something special. You know what I mean? So that's just why I wanted to ask you those questions. So
I want to add real quick for new artists I'm checking for. I got to shout Gorilla Nems from Brooklyn, because the album that we have, it might be the most disrespectful hip hop album ever. Like, it's just like he might be the most disrespectful rapper that I've ever worked with. So I'm actually excited to see people's reaction. You know.
Okay, so, great. We're looking forward to it. I'm sure it's incredible.
Yeah, man, it's pretty funny. But yeah, man. And Jim Jones too. Jim has stepped it up crazy. Like he's getting lyrical right now, and he's on fire right now. The joint he did with Harry Fraud is fire, and the joint we have, I'm excited for people to hear. So shout out to Capo too, you know.
Absolutely. I look forward to it. He's a legendary artist as well. So no question. So Scram, how can our listeners continue to follow you?
So I'm on, you know, social media at Scram Jones. That's Instagram, Twitter, I guess Facebook. My Twitch is on my bio. It's also on probably just Scram Jones or Scram Jones Music. And that's it. They can hear me at Shade 45 every Saturday, 6 to 8 Eastern. And just, you know, I would just say my IG is what I'm on the most. I try to post anything that's coming up, whether it's a party, whether it's a online situation, or I'm releasing a record. It's usually posted on IG first. So definitely at Scram Jones. And yeah, hit me up, hit my DM. Let's talk. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Scram, I want to thank you for allowing me to interview you. This is Vinyl Esquire, the DJ podcast that uplifts the DJ culture and honors our legends. And you're definitely a legendary DJ, producer, MC, and you know, just incredible entity for hip-hop and for the DJ culture. You've done your thing, and I know you're going to continue doing your thing, no question.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate the time and the love, and you know, I'm looking forward to continuing this journey.
Absolutely. And you've been listening to Vinyl Esquire, the DJ podcast that uplifts the DJ culture and honors our legends. My name is DJ Rip, and we've had the honor to listen to the legendary DJ, producer, and MC, Scram Jones.
Salute. Thanks so much, brother.
Hello world, I want to welcome you to Vinyl Esquire, the podcast that delivers culture, truth, music.
Hey, what's up? It's the Kid 50 Cent. You're now rocking with DJ Scram Jones. It's going down, you heard me? What the fuck you mean you never heard of DJ Scram Jones? What the fuck? I fucked you up, nigga.
Yo. I go by the name
Scram. I'm trying to show y'all who the fuck I am.
And I just want to let y'all know.
What we're gonna do right here is go back. Way back into time.
Straight, you know what I'm saying? And there ain't no half stepping. Word. I'm ready.
She's standing there, so lost and all alone. I wanna
take you in my arms and tell you that you're home. I look into your eyes, I know you very well. I see a mirror of my life, a reflection of myself. The sun comes up, the sun goes down, and in between you gotta make it seem like something counts. You're searching there for the dream that'll make it seem like someone cares. Reach out and touch the love that I have for you. 'Cause this kind of love is a once in a lifetime groove.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new value. Dance.
Get wicked. Hear the drummer get wicked. Hear the drummer get wicked. Hear the drummer get. Hear the drummer get. Hear the drummer get. Hear the drummer get wicked. Get wicked. 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 The drummer get wicked. Wicked tones, you know.